Hi, everyone. We are back with reJUVEnation episode 12. And today we are doing a post-match Juventus-Lazio. And I have a guest from the UK. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Raph, Juve fan. Been a Juve fan for literally since birth. Brought up in the Juve family. So yeah, I'm Section 80 on Twitter. If you don't know me, I used to be known as Pixar, but I've kind of left that in the past. And yeah.
All right. Uh, so we'll start with the post-match. And it's a massive 3 points for Juventus over Lazio today, who, we're in similar boats. They both have a game in hand and are pretty similar to the table, kind of fighting for Champions League football. Um, but this is often how the Juventus Lazio ties go. So Juventus have won 7 of their last 8 home games against Lazio in Serie A with an aggregate score of 19-5. So it's safe to say that we kind of have the upper hand on Lazio, as history shows. So for some post-match comments, Pirlo spoke, Morata and Chiesa. So we can start with Pirlo. I'll just pinpoint a few things here. Pirlo said that we got off to a bad start by making a mistake with a back pass, but we didn't let our heads drop. We upped the tempo and fought back. We treated it like a final, even though people were out of position. We gave our everything. Morata said, "There's anger in our celebrations because people are waiting for us to trip up, and it was important to show everyone that we're still in the mix." He said that as long as we're mathematically in, we're going to give it our all. And there was a clip circulating on Twitter of him after he scored in Italian. I think it translated to "Nobody gives up here." As Chiesa kind of went along and said that defensively we worked together as a unit. And, you know, he said that he won the ball in the build up to the second goal because of the team. So in these two comments, Morata and Chiesa, you can see that, you sense the rally amongst the guys. Sometimes they may not show it, but it's nice to hear these things. And for me, Chiesa is the guy who shows it regardless of any result that we end up tying, losing, winning. You always can count on Chiesa giving his 100% for sure. So it feels like his words are actually meaningful. Um, I hope to see the other guys pitch in as well in that sense. We always kind of look to the old guard for that grit. So it's nice to see these guys, mimicking that persona as well. And just to touch on Chiesa's comment about that we work together defensively as a unit, we do have the best defense in Serie A, with only 21 goals conceded. So that's something to think about as well. I personally think we struggle on the other end more than in our defensive phases. Um, but what do you think about any of the comments that I mentioned?
I think in regards to Pirlo, I think we do hear Pirlo say the same thing a lot of the times after matches, how we start slow, how like we needed time to get into the game. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed from the get-go. Because you can tell in the second half when the boys came out, it was a completely different mentality. Like they were reared up, they were fired up. And I feel like that's something that needs to be addressed from the beginning of the game. We can't keep conceding early on, being on the back foot and having to kind of grind our way through games. In regards to the players, though, it's good that they're coming out with this like fiery mentality and this like hunger in their bellies, because it's kind of like we always seem to kind of see our players rely on Ronaldo. And I think today, without him, seeing guys like Chiesa, Morata, especially step up to kind of just get us over the line without him was huge. And it's something that I hope we can carry on into the Champions League game and then for the rest of the season as well, because we're going to be competing for the league 100%, regardless of how well Inter are doing. We need to make sure that we're doing it ourselves. And to just know that all the players are fired up for it, that's going to be really like encouraging to go into it.
Yeah, it's a massive point when you mention Ronaldo because I mean I sent out a tweet before the game saying, once we heard Ronaldo okay, so who's gonna step up and be the leader? Because we saw that when Ronaldo was had COVID at the beginning of the season, it was kind of simultaneously along with Chiellini's injury, so we were kind of missing, in my opinion, our two biggest leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
Bonucci, he has the captain's armband, but he can do his part, but it's obviously not the same type of player that you want to be leading your team. So it's massive that I gave my criticism to Pirlo and the team a lot, but to come out with this win without Ronaldo is really huge for me,
Mm-hmm.
especially going into that Porto game. So spot on there. So speaking of Pirlo, you gave him an 8 in your player grades,
I
and
did.
like I said, I've been pretty harsh on Pirlo. Um, I'll just say a little bit about him, and I'd like to know, what made you give him an 8 in your eyes today. For me, it was, he's in a tough spot. Our team is getting stretched very thin. um i I don't agree with some things that he does, like for example when he took out Chiesa, needing a goal in the last 5-10 minutes of the Verona game. um
Mm-hmm.
some certain players being put out of position since the beginning of the season. You can argue McKennie's not really a winger midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
um, and Chiesa needing to be higher up the field as opposed to um, pitching in defensively. But I mean, today he got the job done, and he made some changes that worked out in the end. Scared me though when I first saw it. We'll go into Danilo and Bernardeschi and the guys who were playing out of position in more depth, but have to give Pirlo some credit today for sure. Um, all things considered, scoring 3 goals and not conceding too much to Lazio as well. We're pretty solid all around. Um, so that's my little spiel on Pirlo. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on him.
Yeah, so I kind of gave him an 8 because I thought today was super, like, very bold from him. Like, just looking at that backline, I literally went into the game thinking if we have any more than a draw, then like I'll be happy, because we went into the game with one centre back, Quadrado playing right back, of course, Alexandro playing centre back, Bernardeschi as a left back, and Danilo in front of the back four as a midfielder. That is a super bold choice. Where if we would have lost that game, fans would have been like, "Yo, Pirlo, what are you thinking?" Fagioli's there to play in midfield. Put Danilo at centre back where he's been playing all season. Play Sandro as a left back. What is this team? And I kind of think that today, aside from the goal we conceded, it was pretty comfortable, because I kind of feel like the goal we conceded was a stupid error from Kulusevski. Other than that, I didn't see too much from Lazio that kind of made me feel worried. Um, so yeah, I just kind of think because of how bold the lineup was from Pirlo and how it actually played out really well. Danilo was in the midfield, made, like, I'm looking at the stats right now. He made 8 interceptions, 4 tackles, a block and a clearance. Like, that's huge for a player playing out of position, and it paid off today. So I think that's kind of why I think an 8 is warranted. It's a big call, and it paid off in the end.
So you took the stats right out of my mouth for Danilo. I had those same ones to highlight.
Hmm.
Um, he was essential in that role, especially with McKennie not being part of the team, the first team. If anything, he came on a little bit afterwards, but the job was pretty much done at that point. So for sure, in my eyes, he was kind of replacing that side of with Ramsey being essentially in the two prong with Rabiot. Um, it would have been a disaster without
Hmm.
that aspect of Danilo. However, he didn't look great in the first half in that position, but I mean you can't blame him. But it's easy to, like you said, in retrospect, if we would have lost the game, that would have been I feel a talking point, um, because there was a few guys out of position. but all things considered, he got the job done in that role defensively. I don't want to see him as a regista again though.
Again, yeah, no.
Because he had a little bit of a struggle, cycling the ball, and you can't blame him in that
Yeah,
sense. When they covered him very quickly, he did get caught up in his feet a little bit, but got the job done in that sense. We can move on to Rabiot as well. Who I think played a key role in making the left side of our play, really active. He obviously favors his left side, and I mean, an unbelievable goal. You can question the goalkeeper a little bit, but what we're used to is a guy like Rabiot or Morata getting into that position that he did, and then looking for a cutback, or looking often for Ronaldo, or a guy trailing at the top of the box. But he just took it, and that's what we've been missing, in my opinion, from this midfield for years now, since we got rid of Pogba, especially. Um, Pogba always gave that extra attacking aspect in the midfield and produce goals in that sense. So it was nice to see him go for it and take that shot, instead of looking for someone else. I feel like we get into those positions and we try to walk the ball into the net. So that was nice to see. If you have any other thoughts on Rabiot, I know you have a lot of hot takes about our midfield in general on
yeah,
Twitter, so I'd love to hear it.
yeah. Like I'm not the biggest Rabiot fan. I'll be honest. It was nice to see him kind of just take initiative today and literally just get the ball and be like, I'm gonna have a shot. Ultimately, regardless of today, I still think he needs to be moved out in the summer. Like he's way too inconsistent for the wages that he's on, especially. Um, So I don't know, but today I'm gonna give him his credit. I mean, he took initiative for the first goal. A goal like that, especially, was kind of like a big lift to the team as well. For it to just be like out of nowhere, like such an amazing goal as well. So I'll give him credit today. I'm not gonna spend too much time being like, we need to get this guy out of the midfield. Today I'm gonna say he did a good job, and that's it. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of our midfield. I'm really not.
You're definitely not the last person to say something like that.
Yeah,
So, so the guy who gave him the assist was Morata, and for me, I think we could both agree that he was the man of the match. But
100%.
I'll speak for myself and say he was definitely my man of the match. 2 goals and an assist. And again, I know we don't want to really make this about Ronaldo since we did it without him, but
Hmm.
the fact that we did and Morata stepped up, he's had his struggles with his personal health as well. I don't even think he is 100% fit, but he looked impressive, and he's so important to this team. He kind of has his personal record now in Italy. So this Serie A season, he's been involved in 15 goals, 7 goals and 8 assists, and obviously we're looking at just Serie A, and we know what he's done in the Champions League so far this season as well, and even in the past loan spells with Juventus, what he's achieved with us in the Champions League. So he's definitely a big game player, and he's definitely crucial on this team.
Hmm.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on how different we look without him, and how potentially Dybala comes back into the lineup, and is that an issue as well when Dybala comes back? Um, but I just want to add, Murata saying in his post match that Pirlo wants me to play in between the lines more, and this is something that my other coaches never asked me to do. So I thought that was interesting as well. And he's kind of giving Pirlo some credit that you know someone like me criticizes Pirlo, but we're obviously not behind the scenes as well.
Hmm.
So something must be clicking um, between them as well, and for sure in our tactics. So what are your thoughts on Morata being, I guess, crucial to us, if that's what you agree with as well?
I'll say that Morata's proved me wrong this season because I remember going into the season, it was between Dzeko, Suarez, Keane. and Morata. And I wanted Morata dead last. I wanted Dzeko first. I wanted Keane to come back as well as his backup. Suarez, if we were able to get him, and Morata, I was like, no, he's been a laughing stock in Europe for how long? He had a terrible spell at Chelsea, at Atletico. He was never really like one of their main players. And I kind of thought coming back, I'll be like, goodness me, like we're literally just taking steps back now. But to see how he plays with Ronaldo and how much better he makes the team is just ridiculous. Because even like looking at this season, how Morata says Pirlo wants him to play in between the lines, you see that in the numbers. Like he's getting way more assists than he'd ever got before. I think he's on like double digit assists this season, which is ridiculous. And it kind of shows how Pirlo has an idea for him. And if he can carry that on into the future seasons, then that would be great, especially because Ronaldo's not getting any younger. By next season or the season after, he'll probably be gone, and we're probably gonna have to rely on Morata. I think we most likely are gonna redeem him, so he's gonna be here for the next, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years in the future. So we're gonna have to depend on him whether we like it or not. So to see him come up against Lazio today as well is huge. And in regards to Dybala, I don't know how Dybala is gonna get into this team. I'm still sticking by him because a lot of people, I had this discussion on Twitter today. A lot of people are saying how Dybala is not like a great player, how we should probably sell him. Me, I think we should stick by him. He's been a great player for us since 2015 up until this season. This season he's been off, he's been inconsistent, but COVID injuries haven't been kind to him. I kind of feel like hopefully he can come back and kind of just give us that spark that he gave us towards the end of last season and kind of put things right. And if we can have both of them on form, then that'll be great. Pillow will be spoiled for choice. We're going to need both of them in the long run to bring success to the club. I mean, we've seen how both players can be crucial for us. Um, but yeah, and go back to Morata, I just hope that he can keep it up, especially in the Champions League for the rest of the season, especially seeing how Lukaku is doing super well. We need our own Lukaku because, you know, we need that number nine, that holding like strong classic number nine in our team. Ronaldo isn't that. Dybala isn't that. Kulusevski isn't that. He's the only one that we have. So we're gonna need that off him.
100%. I think I do, feel a little regret for not having a backup number 9.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. We have Kulusevski, I guess, to save the day. He was he
Oh,
was my worst player of the match, and
me too.
um, obviously he made the massive error,
Mm-hmm.
um, leading to the goal that Korea, also turned Demiral inside out. But that's another that's
Yeah,
another
that's a
topic
different
of
discussion.
cover
Yeah.
of conversation, because I know you're a fan of him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I've been saying it pretty much since the beginning of the season, and I know his age. People keep telling me his age. I know that he's 20 years old. I can use Google as well. But he doesn't really do anything convincing, and
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know where he's supposed to play. To be fair, he did help out a lot defensively today, especially on that side, on the right side, and Lazio loves to play down the left as well. So I did see him track back a bit, but I still, he had a passing rate of 67%. Um, I just don't get the purchase in general, and I just
Yeah.
don't know where he's supposed to be or play. What are your thoughts on Kulu?
Going into the season, I was really excited about him because I kind of thought he could kind of be like molded into this like number 10, like Mezzala type midfielder. But obviously this season he's kind of been shoehorned as a number 9, a backup number 9. And throughout that whole period, I was saying, you know what, I'm gonna stick by him. He's not a striker. He's been forced to play there. Let him be. Today, I saw him play right wing. I was thinking, okay, he can prove himself. And I was kind of let down, especially after the pass to concede the goal. I saw him jog back, and in that time, if he sprinted back, he could have easily got back to kind of help out Demiral in that 1v1 situation. And I kind of felt it was unfair to be harsh on Demiral because in that situation, it's difficult to mark him. He was trying to show him onto his left foot, but if you turn in, he has the option to pass, the option to shoot. So I kind of felt it was unfair to kind of single him out because he was put in a situation that he shouldn't have been in. Obviously after the mistake, Kulusevski obviously took the initiative to start tracking back a lot more, trying to help out defensively. But ultimately, I feel like a lot of responsibility is being put on his shoulders. I think, again, thinking about his age, he's no older than Fajoli. He should probably be receiving similar treatment to Fajoli in that aspect in terms of being a squad player right now. He's a good prospect. He's talented. We've seen it last season at Parma, but to rely on him for the rest of the season, I think will be right now. We've seen that he can't handle it. He needs to be managed accordingly. And again, I wouldn't say that's entirely his fault either. We really have a thin squad. So even a lot of these players that are maybe putting in mediocre performances, it's not entirely the squad's fault because realistically, this squad should be a lot more packed than it is. And we should be seeing a lot more rotation rather than dependent on guys to play out of position for however long. But today, the mistake was inexcusable regardless.
Yeah, that's a good point. In terms of, you can't fully blame him, but at the same time, it seems to be a theme that we're getting in these, I don't know, like lapses of concentration, which is very, I feel, unlike Juve in general.
Really?
So it's concerning because we'll go into that. I mean, that was one of my negatives, so we'll go into that soon. But um, I still don't see it from Kulusevski. I think he, like you said, is a rotation player, and
Hmm.
he's an excellent weapon to come off the bench and try to change a game that you're kind of stuck in and looking for some creativity. But definitely shouldn't be a starter in my eyes, for
Hmm.
sure. And I mean, what more can we say about Chiesa?
Chiesa, I've stuck by him from the start of the season, man. I love Chiesa. I love him so much.
He's just, that when he recovered the ball to spur on the second goal,
Hmm.
just I was just I just
That
saw
was
like
like
Cannavaro.
Cannavaro
Yeah,
2006,
a hundred
easily.
percent. I said it to my brother. Like the Caressa commentary. Um, when he screams Cannavaro's name like twice.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that's just the epitome of Chiesa. He's just like fighting for the shirt at every moment, and you need guys like that. And it's not just that about him. He wants to take on guys and things like that at every
Hmm.
moment. It's not just, Matuidi fought, I feel, for the shirt. Mandzukic fought for the shirt. But there's just something different and special about Chiesa. And I'm glad that, I was always skeptical of the deal.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of people were. A lot.
be,
I was one of the few people that were like, I'm happy.
yeah.
Because I feel like whatever Chiesa lacks in flair or like just skill, whatever, he makes up in just mentality. He has a fighter's mentality. He might not be the flashiest player, but Pirlo likes him. There's a reason Pirlo wanted Chiesa personally
Mhm.
because he knows the player that he can make him. Even a couple years ago when Allegri was first getting sacked, and there were rumors about Pochettino coming in, I was thinking Pochettino can make Chiesa into a great winger. I've always had faith that with the right coaching, Chiesa can be a top winger. He might not be the flashiest, but he's a smart player and he's useful. He's quick, he's direct. He'll be able to get goals and assists. We're seeing it this season. He's putting in good numbers. And I'm super glad that Pirlo's putting faith in him. And just seeing him come through, even though a lot of people wrote him off with the 60 million price tag, I was thinking, no, he's going to pay us back. I have faith in him. I'm just happy that he's doing it.
And that's another area that we can give Pirlo credit for, because that was definitely a coach's buy,
Hmm.
100%. And people were kind of screaming about the midfield instead of reinforcing the midfield with Awar. Why did we get Chiesa if we have so many players similar? But we have no one similar to Chiesa.
None.
He's just, for me, I was skeptical, not even about the price tag, because Juventus does, like, we do those clever deals where it's like a loan, like, per season and
Yeah,
splitting up the price tag. Then that's nothing. You're paying what, 10 million this year for the guy? Who
yeah,
cares, right? Um, but for me, it was like his finishing, and
yeah,
I was a little bit skeptical of that. Um, but he's proven that he can finish them too, and so that's just great for the team and great for Ronaldo, because last year we were very dependent on, a magic moment from Ronaldo or Dybala. And now I feel like, we can get some service going. So yeah, happy that he's there. And so speaking of Ronaldo, I would say, like I said earlier, one of the positives is, doing this without him. Our attack has been struggling for the past few weeks. We've been like sixth in Serie A in goals. Currently, we
Hmm.
sit fourth now, but all the other teams are still needing to play this match day. Um, and without Ronaldo's 20 goals this season for us, we get the job done. So that's a positive for me. Another positive is, adjustment in the formation. I think this is a big talking
Hmm.
point. Going to a back four, and Twitter kind of wanted us to address that as
Yeah.
well. So looking more like a 4-2-3-1, um, with the inclusion of Ramsey and Chiesa, Kulusevski behind Morata, and then like we said, Danilo beside Rabiot. Um, so what do you think of this formation change? Is this the right formation for us, or I've always been calling for a 4-3-3. Um, what do you think? For me, back four for sure.
I would, but the issue I have is Ronaldo in the squad because with him playing, he's gonna have to play next to Morata. He's not gonna play as a lone number nine. If you play a 4-3-3, Ronaldo is gonna drift inside and act as like a second number nine. We'll have no one on that left side. So I genuinely feel as long as Ronaldo's here, we're gonna play with a two-man striker partnership, whether it's 4-4-2, whether it's 3-5-2, like the hybrid kind of system Pirlo's playing this season. I think we're going to stick with that. And maybe in games that we rest Ronaldo, we'll probably switch to like the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 in order to, get more midfielders, more attacking midfielders, more wingers in, and obviously just play Morata as that lone number nine, maybe. Yeah, I don't see Pirlo playing this midfielder in midweek. I feel like we're going to play 3-5-2, Morata and Ronaldo up top. I don't see it changing.
So it sounds like you think that Ronaldo is kind of holding us back here.
Yeah, because if you look at just how Ronaldo plays, like he loves to come in from the left.
Mhm.
But if you play him as a left winger, he will not stay there for the duration of the match. He's gonna cut in. He's gonna try and play as that number nine next to Morata, and then that left side is gonna be completely empty. It's gonna be a mission for whoever's playing left back to cover that entire flank. You know, and I don't feel like Pirlo's gonna, because he likes to play with two fullbacks super high up, maybe like one centre back kind of moving into midfield, that 3-5-2, that hybrid formation that he likes to play. Super weird. I don't feel like he's going to do that with the 4-3-3.
Yeah, I agree with him being stuck in that tactic, because you see it from either Alexandro or Danilo always pushing up and kind of acting like an extra midfielder. So I don't think he'll switch it. Um,
Yeah, I don't think so either.
but it's good to know that in the case where you need to, at
He can
least
use it.
at least he can use it. We're very used to Antonio Conte living and dying by the 3-5-2 no matter what, and Lazio doing the same. In the pre-pod, I had a Lazio fan with me, and he said, no matter what players are injured or available, Inzaghi
Three
always
five
has
two.
a three man at the back. And you know, I want to credit the team, of course, for scoring 3 goals, but Lazio's defense has conceded before this game like 32 goals, and they have um, 38 goals for, so just a plus of 6. Uh, so they're clearly poor defensively, and
Mm-hmm.
Acerbi joins in on every attack, which I don't understand either. So I'm glad that we took advantage of their clear weakness. Um, Another positive, of course, is having this depleted team and still winning, and despite the the missed penalty call as well. I was hoping that we got the job done, because I didn't want to hear excuses, as Pirlo has done in a few games this season. And that shows good character as well, that we were able to come out with the win regardless of the refereeing errors. I think he was pretty bad in general. Um, and
Yeah,
I would leave my last positive, and then you can have your positives as well, with Chiesa, being higher up the field.
yeah,
I mean, we just spoke about how important Chiesa is, and today, 43% of our attacking play came through the left side, and mind you, this is not even his preferred side as well, which also shows you that when needed, he can be brilliant on both sides. I know in the beginning of the season when he was being sacrificed to that side to uh allow Kulusevski to get some minutes on the right side. um we were saying, why is he on that side to accommodate Kulusevski? It's clear that he's better on the right side, but you know he's just a brilliant player. If a player can play anywhere and still perform, that this is a potentially world class player.
hmm
um so it was good to see that, as well, in my eyes. I just want to end off with, like, for my own thoughts, saying that, um just to press the brakes a little bit. I don't think we were as good as a lot of people are, I guess, talking about on Twitter. But I try not to go by what Twitter is saying a lot.
yeah.
We're very emotional on Twitter, and a lot of extremists. But I try to stay as objective as possible. And the first half was pretty rough. It's not like we gave away too much, but everyone kind of looked all over the place for me. But it was the positive. The main positive is going back out there the second half, and they look like they actually believed. The first half, everyone was, you're just questioning, like, do these guys want to win the Scudetto or not? Like,
Mm.
you got to treat every game as a final. Like Conte told his guys, like, we have 13 finals left, you know, and we have to get that motivation as well and show it. And so I'm happy that they put on a show in the second half. And I have one negative in my opinion, but I'd like to hear your positives.
I agree with you. I do believe again a lot of people on Twitter might be over exaggerating the win, but I understand why. I mean, the two goals came in quick succession, so adrenaline would have been high. We've taken a two-goal lead out of nowhere, so ultimately people are going to be super happy, especially because of how crazy the reaction was in the first half. The first half, everything was terrible, doom and gloom. Season's finished. So to get those two goals is like a huge boost. But again, I don't believe it's one of our best performances of the season. I mean, aside from the goals, we didn't carve out too much. We didn't have chances where we thought, oh, we could have scored, we couldn't have. So yeah, I agree with you entirely on that.
And I would say the only negative we kind of touched on earlier when Pirlo in his press conference said that we started slow and whatnot.
Hmm
My point was basically that he does always say that, and it's becoming too much of a routine, and definitely can't be the case in Europe, as we saw against Porto. In Europe, and obviously in the knockouts, everything weighs more. Like, everything has a bigger weight, because it's
hmm
it's one game, and you screw up that game, and you gotta, the second leg with the away goals, this and that. Like, there's no room for error in Europe. And the same can be said about our place in Serie A right now. If the Scudetto is a goal, but even if top four is the goal, because of how tight everything is, you have to have that mentality where we can't afford to make these mistakes, and have them happen so often. So this stat from Up to Paulo says that Juventus have conceded 5 goals in the first 15 minutes in Serie A this season, and in all of last season, with the same 15-minute window, we only conceded 2. So, and that's the entire season, and we're not done the season yet, and 5 goals already in the first 15. So it kind of depicts, what we're really feeling about how, like, about Pirlo's comments, how we keep starting slow. And that's the biggest negative for me. And we can't keep doing that. It costed us obviously the first tie against Porto. Um, what else can you say that you didn't like from this match? You never want to see again, type of thing.
To cover that, I'd agree because I think a lot of um, moments where we shot ourselves in the foot this season have literally just been just from our own doing. In terms of either games we've lost, points we've dropped, they've all been ours. We've never been outplayed. If you think about, I remember someone tweeted earlier, like missing penalty kicks against Atalanta, the back pass against Porto, literally just bottling those chances against Benevento in the draw. Um, Against Lazio earlier in the season, not to clear the ball, and we ended up drawing the game in the last minute. A lot of the moments where we've costed ourselves points have literally been through player lapses, and we need to address that. Pirlo really needs to start getting his players fired up from the first minute. Even maybe in moments where the going gets tough within the last 10, 15 minutes, he needs to fire up the players and get them all to concentrate, because it's literally the most disappointing thing about this season is knowing that if this player would have just woken up for this moment in the match, we would have had 2, 5, 6, 7 extra points in the league. And looking at how Inter have corrected that from their previous seasons, where literally every player has been fired up by Conte. They're all fighting for every ball. They're never, you know, taking lapses in concentration. We need to make sure we start doing that. And Pirlo needs to start like putting that into his players. And I think he also made a comment about that earlier in the season where he was saying a lot of these players are mentally not at it. And I went on this huge like Twitter thread where I was saying like even Allegri at one point was like he wants to, before he got sacked, he wanted to just rebuild the entire team because a lot of these players are not mentally there. We have a few in this team. We have Chiesa, we have Ronaldo, we have Delict maybe sometimes, and Demiral. Other than that, a lot of these players are very prone to making lapses in concentration. And I think that's something that we need to address because again today, if we would have lost that game off a mistake, I would have been fuming. Especially as how it happened the other week against Napoli, how one handball costed us a game where realistically we should have beaten Napoli.
And that's the big debate, I think, whether that's on Pirlo or that's on the players themselves. um and for me, I try not to blame one or the other because I always feel like it's a combination of things.
It's a team
and
effort.
and I mean, it's even a combination of the management. They're the ones
Hmm.
that are giving this team to an inexperienced coach. So it's a combination of things for me. But when it starts to happen this often is when I really start to question the coach, and that's where I start to question the coach. One time, two times, three times, okay, like it's an individual error. But 5 goals in the first 15 minutes in Serie A. So that doesn't even count, the one in the Champions League as well, which was literally the first minute of the game. Um, I question whether Pirlo is that type of coach in general. We don't even really know. Like, we're used to Conte, motivating on the sidelines because he does it overtly. We don't really know what Pirlo does, and if he's that type of coach in general. But you know, to me, I don't think you need much motivation to get fired up for a
Hmm.
Champions League game, or like to get back into the Scudetto race, because it is possible. And um, with the tie against Verona, I know Chiesa said something happened in the tie against Verona that spurred them on, but I mean, it's only been 2 games, so I don't know if he's just saying that because a lot of players just fluff the interviews anyway. But
Hmm.
uh, it's
I
concerning
hope
when,
so. I hope he's telling the truth.
yeah, it's concerning when it happens more often. That's where I start
Hmm.
to look at the coach. But maybe that's just my opinion. Um, so for this comeback in particular, who would you give the credit to?
In terms of manager and team, or just an individual.
Like, in general, who's this comeback attributed to?
I would say Morata for being involved in all the goals. and Pirlo, because I genuinely feel like at half time he must have said something to the team to make them all just turn it around completely. So yeah, I feel like Morata and Pirlo, especially because of how bold that lineup was, and he didn't crumble at half time. He didn't try and switch because of like the call being like crazy. He literally stuck by his guns, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna finish this game out the way I set it out to be. Get fired up, get this win," and we did it. So Pirlo and Morata for me.
And it's pretty massive of him to play Bernardeschi as a left back.
Hmm.
Um, I mean he's had a few good games, a few string of decent games. However, um, he didn't really have much to do on his side, in my opinion. Um, I mentioned to someone, and I mean, it's not his fault that he had nothing to do, right?
Hmm.
Um, I feel like you can still screw up, even though nothing is going on, because that's been the theme. People, Kulusevski, it's not like he was really pressured or anything. It's just like a lack of awareness from, I guess, a young player. But so you can't blame Bernardeschi for having nothing to do. But I'm
Hmm.
pretty glad that Lazzari wasn't on that right side. I felt like it could have been a problem in that case. But are you turning the page with Bernardeschi? Is he a role player to you? Would you keep him around for that role?
Before this season, I would have just said get rid of him. But looking at how he's just kind of coming in whenever we need him, whether it be in attack or defense, I feel like he can just be another Asamoah, where he literally just comes in, fills a role if we need him, and just keep him as that. Maybe let's obviously not make him a starter or put faith in him as being, the Bernardeschi that we would have expected like 4 or 5 years ago. But if we keep him as a squad player who can play back, left wing, right wing, mezza if we need him, keep him as a new Asamoah for us.
I like that comparison actually. I never thought of it that way. I always felt like for sure, he's not a starter for Juve.
Hmm.
He uh he showed that pretty quickly for us. Only his meaningful game against Atletico basically. Um However,
Mm.
it's an expensive Asamoah. All things considered,
40 million.
when we have holes in the midfield, but um, you always need to examine whether you can even get get that money back, or the investment pays off in that sense. It might just be better to keep a guy like that on.
Hmm.
I'm sure he's on, I don't know exactly his wages, but I'm sure he's on, most of the Italians in general are on low wages compared to the foreigners who join our team anyway. So um, could be useful as a squad player, especially if Pirlo stays as well. And I don't think he'd want to go anyway. His team, his
He's already refused multiple
yeah,
times.
and I
Our
mean
Our at the beginning of the season, he was linked to that, and he was
in
like,
the
"I don't want
swap,
to go."
yeah. And I mean, why would he want to go, right? Because he's living in Italy, and his spot on Italy is secured as well.
Hmm.
So it's not like he has to go prove himself to try to make the Euros or the World Cup. He gets called up regardless of how much playing time he gets with us. So I can't see him going anywhere, and
Mm.
he might not be the priority anyway to be moved. Uh,
Yeah,
like
I feel like Rabiot, Ramsey might be a player that can be moved out.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
They're on high wages, so
yeah,
if you can get anything for those guys, it's funny how our feelings change throughout the season.
I
Because,
know.
like you said, we would have been the first to say, get this guy out of here prior to the season. But
Hmm.
I guess it makes you realize that a guy on low wages is probably not so bad to have around when guys like Ramsey are uh, raking it in while playing a quarter of the games for us.
I know.
So not very
That's what I'm
useful.
saying. And there are replacements for guys like Ramsey and Rabiot. I mean, if we can ship off those two guys and bring in Locatelli and Depot as direct replacements, that for me is a huge step up. Even Ramsey this season, he hasn't been bad. He's been good when he's come in. But if we can get the pool to come in, that is a huge level up.
And that's a good point. Like, because what springs to my mind when you say something like that is, at least DePaul will be useful in terms of actually being on the pitch and being
Hmm.
able to be available to play. And that kind of reminds me of Douglas Costa and replacing him with Chiesa. In my mind, I was like, well, at least this guy can be available for selection because he doesn't have, injury
Injury
issues
issues.
like Douglas Costa, and Locatelli, DePaul. These guys are gonna be on low wages as well. So if you can get something of a transfer fee for Rabiot and Ramsey and get them off the salary books, that would be huge. But we'll see what happens with that. But I think we're in agreement there. Um, and so it's safe to say that Pirlo got it spot on today, and that kind of concludes our post match. It was a massive win. Just to wrap it up here, massive win in our hunt down for the Scudetto with Inter playing Atalanta on Monday. Expect a lot of goals there. Um, so we'll see what happens with that. Milan playing Verona tomorrow. Uh, Roma Genoa. So we can see us. I can see us getting closer to the top.
Hmm.
Um, and we have a decent schedule to wrap up. I think up until like April, we have a decent schedule minus the Napoli match that was rescheduled. So do you think we have a shot?
I was tweeting this today because obviously Lazio also have that um, case in court where they could get fined and deducted points and have that draw earlier in the season turn into a 3-0 win for us. So if hopefully if Inter lose on Monday against Atalanta and we win our game in hand and our next game in the schedule, we will be 2 points behind them. We'll be on 57 points. That right there opens up the Scudetto race wide open. So we need to hope that we get fortunate with Lazio dropping points there. And obviously, we need to beat Napoli next time that we play them. We can't afford to mess up like we did with the Chiellini handball. Get those 2 wins covered, and then the run into the end of the season, we still need to play Inter at our place. We still need to play Milan at our place. If we can get those 2 wins as well as closing the gap to 57 points within up until the Napoli game, we can easily have a shot at the Scudetto. It's definitely not over. We just need to make sure that we don't slip up again.
100%. This is all on us. We have to be dependent on other teams, because we can't get there, mathematically
Hmm.
unless they drop points. But we need to do our part
Yeah,
because there's no excuse in dropping points against Verona. And in the beginning of the season, is if we lose the Scudetto, where I see us having lost it, tying against Benevento, against Verona, Lazio, Atalanta,
Crotone.
Crotone. Exactly. That's the last place team, and they're a Serie B team, like hands
Hmm.
down. Um, and so that's where I feel like we would have lost it if we end up losing it. But hope is a dangerous thing. So I think we all still have it because we're used to winning, and we're used to Juventus, and their mentality. So we'll see how
Yeah,
it
fino
pans
alla
out.
fine, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Fino alla
Uh,
fine.
do you just a quick do we pass against Porto?
Um, After seeing Ronaldo's comment today, yes.
Simple
He
answer.
literally said to the interviewer, he said, "I'll see you on Tuesday." After that, I said, "Yo, he's banging in a hat trick." What's it? What did he say against Atletico?
Evra
Yeah,
Evra's
yeah.
Evra
At
sending
home
him
we
a
smashed them.
text. Yeah.
Yeah, at home we smashed them. Africa passing. After seeing that comment, yeah, easily.
He must have saw Porto's TikTok. I don't know, something was going
Oh,
on
did you see that one?
with their TikTok, so he
Yeah,
must have taken that personally. Cue
bad
the
move.
cue the
Bad move.
Jordan meme.
Bad move. And I took that personally.
All right, thank you for coming on.
No
Um,
worries.
it was great having you. I always see you tweeting about, like I said, the midfield and stuff. So it was cool to have you on, and
Hmm.
hopefully you can come back again.
100%.
Um, so thanks for that, and
No worries.